Alright, this is 7.1, talking about ratios and rates. I actually used that in this past week for something or other, I can't remember, but I use this skill that I'm going to show you today a lot, seriously. So check this out. If we've got a square here and the side length is 2, what's the perimeter of that square? Well, the perimeter would be 2, 2, 2, 2 would be 8, right? So if the side length is 2, the perimeter would be 8, right? If the side length is 4, what's the perimeter there? We'll multiply it by 4, 16. If it's 5, the perimeter would be 25, right? So 2 to 8, 4 to 16, 5 to 25. These are all equivalent ratios. And we write ratios kind of like fractions. In fact, exactly like fractions, but there's a couple other options. So, let's see here. Don't all of these, isn't 2/8 the same as 4/16, which is the same as that? Don't they all simplify to divide by 5? That's 1, divide by 5. That's, wait, oh, I knew something was wrong. 5 times 4 is not 25, it's 20, right? So they all simplify to 1/4, so they're all equivalent ratios, all right? Now, ratio. A ratio uses division to compare two numbers. You're comparing two numbers, okay? Now, it's different than a fraction. And let me give you an example of that. A ratio is different than a fraction in this way. If I said that there are 8 girls at this school for every 1 boy. Okay, there's a lot of girls at the school, not very many boys. The ratio is 8 to 1. Or we can write it like this, 8:1, or we write it like this, like a fraction, 8 to 1. Okay, 8 girls to 1 boy. This, as a fraction, is just 8. So, sorry, move that up. It's just 8. 8 what? 8 girls, 8 boys. What? See, it doesn't make sense as a fraction. This is 8 girls to 1 boy. Okay? So, a ratio, though it can look like a fraction, is not the same as a fraction. And that'll become a little more clear as we go on. So, alright, we already covered the different ways to write a ratio. If the ratios have the same value like we had here, they're equivalent ratios. So watch this. Ski resort here. It's got 15 easy trails, 25 intermediate trails, 7 difficult ones, 11 expert only. Write the ratio intermediate trails to easy trails in 3 ways. Okay? Write the ratio intermediate trails to easy trails. Well, there's 25 intermediate to easy trails. How many easy are there? There's 15 easy. So 25 to 15. Let's see here. 25 to 15 and 25 to 15. Now, if I asked you, alright, just pause this for a second, fold my hands here. If I asked you, or I told you that for every 10 or every 100 citizens, 10 of them speed every day down the highway. For every 100 citizens, 10 of them speed. That would be kind of a dumb way to say it, because the ratio is 100 to 10. Why not, I'll put a question mark for you here, why not say the ratio is 10 to 1 for every 10 citizens? Okay, so for every 100 there's 10 that speed. Why not just say for every 10 citizens there's 1 that speeds? Okay, this is a better way to say it. So we have to simplify ratios if we can. So these are all right here, these are all incorrect. What we need to do is say, what is this simplified to? Divided by 5 is 5, 3. So 5 to 3. 5 to 3. 5 to 3. Okay? That's what they have down here. That's the ratio of intermediate trails to easy trails. There are more intermediate trails found on this mountain than easy trails. The ratio is about 5 to 3. Okay? Now, 2 more terms to be familiar with. So 2 more examples here. A rate is a ratio of 2 quantities that have different units. So like we had girls to boys, that's different units. Girls are different than boys. We had intermediate trails to easy trails. Those are different units. They're both trails, but one's intermediate, one's easy, so they're different units. So those are all rates. In fact, the most of the ratios that you will encounter are going to be rates. So check this out. The lightning strikes about 100 times per second. Okay, 100 times per, that's another way to do per, second. 1 second. I'll put that. Around the world. 100 times per second. Wow. About how many times does lightning strike per minute around the world? Now there are 2 ways to do this, and you need to be comfortable with the second one. Okay, I'll show you this first one because it could help, and that's the way they do it here, is this first one. But the second one is what you have to do because there are some problems in your assignment that are going to have to use this. So pay attention to both of these. The first way to do this, we're trying to go from 100 lightning strikes per second to a certain number of lightning strikes per minute. Okay, per 1 minute. Now, the way they do that is to simply convert this. Okay, so the first method I will call convert. So you take your 100 per second and you multiply by 1. Okay, multiply, this is key, by, quote, 1. If you multiply anything by 1, you don't change it, do you? Now, we're not just going to multiply this by 1. We're actually going to multiply it by, how many seconds are there in a minute? Oh, it's right here, 60 seconds in 1 minute. Isn't 60 seconds the same as 1 minute? And if you have a numerator that's the same as a denominator, then it's just 1. So we're taking this, and to convert it, we're just multiplying it by 1. Now, seconds, the units here, they cancel out. Yeah, units can cancel out. Cool, huh? Yeah. Now, let's do the multiplication. 100 times 60 is 6,000. 1 times 1 is just 1. And we still have minutes as the unit. And what was this? 100 times, right? Lightning strikes. 100 strikes. So, how many in a minute? 6,000 lightning strikes per minute. Okay, 6,000 strikes to 1 minute. This is a rate because the units are different. Strikes to minute. Okay? Now, the other way to do this that you have to be comfortable with is this way. Okay, let's say we have 100 strikes over 1 second is the same as, I'm going to try to use that terminology for equal sign. 100 strikes per second is the same as how many strikes, S, how many strikes per minute. Now, instead of writing 1 minute, I'm going to put the same unit as I have down here, 60 seconds. Okay, so I've got strikes over seconds and strikes here over seconds. If you have the same units like this, same, top unit is the same, bottom unit is the same, then you can, here's my second method, cross multiply. You have to know how to cross multiply. It's the bomb. Okay? So here's what cross multiply means. This numerator times that denominator, 100 times 60, is always the same as this numerator times that denominator. So S, which is a variable, right, times 1. Okay? So cross multiplying. So here's another example. Here's how it works. 2/8 is equal to 1/4, right? So cross multiplying says that 2 times 4 is the same as 1 times 8. Is that true? Yeah, that is true. So then this has to be true. 100 times that is the same as s times 1. So that's 6,000. S times 1 is just s. So s equals 6,000. Alright, that's how you cross multiply. We just found the rate. 6,000 strikes or times in 1 minute. That seems hard to believe. Now, we found what's called a unit rate, a special kind of rate, because it's over 1. Remember, a rate is just if the units are different. So you could have, there are 3 oranges to 2 apples. Okay, that is a rate because they are different units. But it's not a unit rate because it's not over 1. A unit rate is a rate that has a denominator of 1. Okay, so it's, yeah, this makes sense. Write negative 24 feet per 5 seconds. Negative 24 feet. I'm writing over here and you can't see it. Per 5 seconds. Okay, it's my ratio, my rate, as a unit rate. So this is going to equal a unit rate. Remember, we have to have the same units on the top and bottom in our cross. This is for cross multiplying, right? Cross multiply, the units have to be the same top and bottom. I'm going to make a little, okay? For converting, we multiplied by 1. The units weren't the same top and bottom, but that's okay because we weren't cross multiplying. Okay? So, back here. We're trying to write negative 24 feet per 5 seconds as a unit rate, meaning it's got to be for every 1 second. How many are there for every 1 second? We have to have something over 1. And let's see what the problem says. Write negative 24 feet per 5 seconds as a unit rate. Okay, so question mark up here. This ratio we're saying is the same as this ratio over 1 second, but how do we find out that number? Well, you cross multiply. 24 times 1 is the same as 5 times something. Or, sorry, negative 24 times 1 is the same as 5 times something. I just use a question mark there instead of a variable. Negative 24 times 1 is negative 24. 5 times, we're going to say 5, what are we talking about here? 5 seconds. Or this question mark is feet, right? N, we'll say N for number of feet. So divide both sides by 5. That'll be gone. Negative 24 divided by 5, let's see what they get. They get negative 4.8 equals that question mark, or M, okay? So take this negative 4.8, put it right there. So the final answer, we're not done yet. A lot of times you think that once you figure out this variable or whatever, then you're done. No, it said to write a unit rate, all right? So the unit rate is, right? The unit rate is negative 4.8 feet per every 1 second. Negative 4.8, maybe that's like a wave going back out. It came and crashed on the shore and now it's receding back into the ocean and it's going 4.8 feet backwards, so negative 4.8 feet every second. That could work. All right.